Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
All right, everybody, just take a deep breath. You don't win every election, right? And we've got some analysis to do on. I think it's fair to say disappointing results out of Virginia yesterday and other places in the country, and we're going to do that analysis. And we're as I said at the beginning of the program today, at 5:00 in the morning, we're not going to get bitter. We're going to get better. You learn from these things, and then you move on, and you fight, and you win the next day. And coming up at 7:35, Matt Hurt, chairman of the Republican Party in Arlington, who got verbally abused by that crazed lunatic yesterday, will join us. 8:05, FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr. And 8:35, one of the bright spots from yesterday's results, Ian Lovejoy, who won his seat for House of Delegates for the Republicans. Also, I want to remind you of Mike Chapman, sheriff of Loudoun County, won re-election, fourth term. That's great. Buddha Bibberai is hanging by a thread. Looks like she's going to lose her race. The porn queen Democrat looks like she's going to lose. What's her name again? Gibson, right?
Yes.
So there are
Suzanne Gibson.
There are some bright spots. I'm Larry Connor. That's Julie Gunlock.
Good morning,
Julie. And joining us right now, a man who knows a little thing or two about Virginia Republican politics, Ken Cuccinelli. He's a former senior Trump administration official, of course, and now he is in charge of the Political Action Committee for Ron DeSantis. Never back down. Mr. Cuccinelli, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good to be with you guys.
Listen, you're in Miami for the debate, right?
I am.
Yeah, so am I. This is fun. We got a big debate tonight, and I want to talk to you about that in a minute. But first, your analysis of what happened last night. You know, a lot of people are saying, it's abortion. It's abortion. This is the Republicans' problem. It's abortion. Do you agree?
No, I mean, this was somewhat predictable in terms of the districts. Virginia's tough, folks. I mean, obviously Glenn Youngkin and Jason Miyares and Winsome Sears proved you can win it statewide. But we didn't put the magic together last night. I don't think that if you look at the districts like the hard to hold Senate district outside of Richmond, we lost. And then Northern Virginia, we had some great candidates like Bill Wolf, who were just kind of overwhelmed by the district, and so there's nothing shocking here. Disappointing, yes, I would agree with you, but we had Republicans trying to win districts that Joe Biden won, and that's challenging to do. It's not impossible. Glenn Youngkin showed that, but last night was disappointing. I think we have to be more aggressive in these races.
I don't think Glenn Youngkin won those districts either. What he did better than Trump had done, the Democrat vote didn't come out as strong for Terry McAuliffe than they did for Joe Biden. But then when you're running statewide, Mr. Cuccinelli, as you know, that's all you need to do is do better in the Democrat districts.
Right.
And then really bring in the vote in the other districts. But when you're running district by district, as you wisely point out, you don't have that advantage. You've got to win within those boundaries.
Correct. And you've got all the restrictions that community provides politically. And the reality is that if you look at like the western part of the state, very Republican, Glenn Youngkin ran up his vote there. And you don't have the opportunity to do that if you're Bill Wolf, if you're Siobhan Donovan outside of Richmond. That's just not available to you. You got to win it right there where you are. And I had to do that too. I mean, I was in the Fairfax State Senate District as a conservative, so I was covered by the Endangered Species Act. But it can be done. I did it. But that doesn't mean it's particularly easy. And when you look statewide and to see other reasonable results, it looks like Buda Bibberai is going to lose.
Oh, thank God.
Mike, yeah. Oh my gosh. Known Buda a long time. I didn't know she was that crazy. And Mike Chapman won re-election. Yeah. So, a Republican in Loudoun winning. Mike's done a great job. That's why Mike won re-election. Mike Chapman is an outstanding sheriff. And look, I know you mentioned the debate, and I'm going to use the Ron DeSantis example. Ron DeSantis didn't win by almost 20 points in the biggest swing state last year with a great campaign. He won because voters rewarded him for spectacular governance. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to Mike Chapman in Loudoun County. He did a great job. That's why he won re-election.
If I can ask your opinion though on one thing, I felt like a lot of the Republicans that ran in Virginia were really trying to focus on the issues: crime, the economy, quality of life. But many Republicans, I think, in Virginia sort of avoided the abortion issue, and that's all the Democrats talked about.
And the media.
Do the Republicans, and this isn't just in Virginia, this is nationwide, is this a lesson about how Republicans need to at least be able to talk about this issue with ease, much like DeSantis does, about potential restrictions that are going to be put by states across the country? Do we need Republicans to understand they have to be able to communicate on this issue better?
Well, yes, and I'd go a half step further and say you've got to be on the attack. I mean, look, what all of these people support is taxpayer abortion up to the moment of birth.
Yep.
And our folks have got to be punching back on that hard over and over and over, because Virginians, Americans don't support that. They don't support that. And they do support parental consent. Yep. They do support health regulation of abortion clinics, which Virginia has a history of some awful ones. They need to be on the front foot, and they still try to avoid the issue entirely. And it doesn't mean this is all you talk about, but when this is the subject your opponent's attacking you on, you hit back, point out who the extremist is. And I think Glenn Youngkin, saying, look, I'd support a pain-capable ban, which would be around 15 weeks. That's a 70-30 position. And you've just got to call your opponents out on it. Like,
on
what's
their
wrong
extremism.
Yeah.
Yep.
And look, I did it on the floor of the Senate. When Roe v. Wade Day, each side would give remarks, and I did that a couple of times. We take turns doing it. But when you ask the other side questions, they won't answer them. Yeah. Well, Janet Howell, she's gone now, and an even crazier person that's in her district, amazingly enough. When do you think life begins? They won't answer the question. They won't answer the question because they are against truth, and they're counting on the kind of fear and confusion that they successfully utilized through this 45-day election. Yeah. And we need to highlight it without abandoning all those issues, like crime. Crime's real, and honestly, the Hamas terrorist attack on Israel has, strangely enough, brought a whole new angle to this. Yes. In the United States, we're seeing more mob violence. And that's a very scary thing. That's a very scary type of crime. Yeah. And it's, and as we all know, only left-wing mobs get away with that.
Right. They're fiery, right? But mostly peaceful.
500 FBI agents investigating them.
Ken Cuccinelli is our guest, and we're going to get a preview of tonight's Republican debate, and certainly from his perspective as head of Never Back Down, the super PAC supporting Ron DeSantis. But it was too easy to talk to you about Republican politics in Virginia this morning after the election. So can you stick with us a second? We're going to do a quick traffic check, and then we'll talk about the debate.
Sure.
Excellent. It is 7:15 WMAL traffic and weather.
The new WMAL app has arrived. Download it today and listen anywhere in the world.
Ken Cuccinelli joins us live from Miami with his sound machine. And we're talking about tonight's debate. It's, feel that conga going, man. It's Miami.
My lightning blue blazer.
Yes, I knew it. Doing his Desi Arnaz here with his Babalu. So we got 5 candidates. First of all, I'm looking forward to the fact that we've only got 5 candidates, so they're going to have more time to speak. The rules are going to be modified a bit to accommodate the fact that there's only 5 candidates. And Ken Cuccinelli, I got to think that national security and most specifically, security issues in the Middle East and our relationship with Israel is going to take center stage tonight. This is the first debate of Republican candidates post October 7th.
Right. And there have been differences already between the candidates. So, whether it's refugees, how we handle people who are here on visas, level of support. On the Democrat side, of course, frankly, the Democrats are being divided amongst themselves over Israel. And it's how do you divide it over a terrorist attack?
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about Virginia, and I mentioned just how radical some of the people getting elected are. This is a reflection of that, folks. This is a reflection of it. This ain't your grandfather's Democrat Party.
Yeah.
They are electing nut job people who think that terrorists are the good guys. And, that'll be reflected in the debate tonight. Look, Ron DeSantis, even the Washington Post with 538.com, determined that DeSantis, just on the numbers, won each of the first two debates. He was the winner. I expect he's going to be the winner again tonight. He is spectacularly smart. He is the most accomplished person running for president in his space. Part of the reason I support him is he is literally the most accomplished conservative on conservative issues in our lifetimes. Of any chief executive, governor, or president. And there are no exceptions to that. I mean, whether it's life, taxes, reducing Florida's debt by 25%, fighting for freedom in COVID, which was the non-Trump position, of course. He was facing off with a president who was pushing him to be more restrictive, and he refused to do it once the data began to show up. School choice, getting the woke crud out of our schools. He's literally the national leader on that subject. Inspired an entire parents movement, which Glenn Youngkin benefited from in Virginia. Army of Moms, Moms for Liberty, the whole protecting children in schools movement. And again, we were just talking about Loudoun County.
Hold on. I know you're doing a good job for the candidate, but I got to say, I mean, we saw the parents movement begin in Loudoun County, Virginia. So one could argue that
it did not begin in Loudoun County. It exploded in Loudoun County. But Ron DeSantis was fighting with Disney over this legislation to protect children before we had the 2021 election cycle. And,
right, but it's reality. It started in the fall of 2020. Listen, I don't think any candidate needs to claim it started with me, it started with them. I think Governor DeSantis has a great track record on parents' rights. So does Governor Youngkin. We can promote Governor DeSantis without undermining Governor Youngkin's ability at that. I guess the bigger question
I'm not undermining him, Larry, but look, who's accomplished what? And unfortunately, the results of yesterday's election is that some of the things that Glenn ran on aren't available. That's not Glenn's fault, but the reality of accomplishment. We've had lots of people run and say they're going to do A, B, and C, and nobody's done as much as Ron DeSantis has. That's just a fact.
He has a great track.
I agree with you. He has a record of accomplishment in Florida that is incredible. But I'm really interested in your position, but particularly because I believe a lot of the topics will cover national security, given what's going on in the Middle East, is your opinion of Nikki Haley. She has shined in these moments. What are your feelings on her as compared to DeSantis?
She's done well in debates, and she, for instance, overtook Vivek Ramaswamy because of her performance in that first debate. And there's no question about that. I think that there's a sort of a pop and drop process that often happens. We saw it with Tim Scott through the summer. It was 3 months long. Vivek got both positive and negative out of the first debate, but turned out more negative. And I think Nikki Haley's going through that process. Look, folks, here the election has three buckets of people. The always Trump people who will vote for President Trump, even if he, what's the old thing, shoots somebody on Madison Avenue in broad daylight. And then there are the never Trump people who will never vote for him. And then there's the folks who like me, who like a lot of what Trump got done, but really believe there are better options and we have to be able to put the drama behind us and so forth. And Trump competes for those people. DeSantis competes for those people. Nikki Haley doesn't compete for those people. Her votes are coming from the never Trump bucket only. And that's not a position that can ever overtake President Trump and become the nominee. So she is a classic kind of 2000s era Republican neocon candidate. And there are people who like that, but she's more moderate. That's her track record. She's making herself out to be, tough on China and other things that she wasn't as governor. And, she's remaking herself in that respect. And that's kind of a conventional politician person. Ron DeSantis has had the same positions for 11 years, ever since he first ran for office.
We're speaking with Ken Cuccinelli. Sorry, Ken, we're up against it. I've only got 30 seconds left, but real fast. You've suggested, or it appears you have suggested through some media appearances, that if President Trump is convicted, then the Republican Party should not allow him to have the nomination. Is that your stated position? Do you think that there should be a floor fight should he win the primaries but then get convicted?
So the conviction's coming in the Washington case. And I don't think I fought that grand jury live and in person. They had to drag me back a second time because I wouldn't answer some of their questions without a court order. And but that's going to happen. And independents won't vote for him that way. So the polling you see today is silly. There's no RFK Jr. in these polls who suck away COVID votes. I'm going to vote for the Republican nominee. And if it's not Ron DeSantis, I expect that it'll be Donald Trump. So I'm prepared for that. That is not an issue.
So the question
people
is,
need to realize that others will not.
The question is, do you endorse a challenge at the convention?
I'm not prepared to say either way on that. This is a contest for delegates at the convention, and one of the things I do with the Super PAC is recruit delegates. And I'm in this to win this for Ron DeSantis because he's far and away the best candidate for president. And we're going to fight that contest as far as the candidate does.
All right.
So I have every intention of competing this thing come hell or high water all the way through the tape.
It's why we like having you on to talk about these things, because you tell it how it is and how you feel, and we appreciate it. And I'll see you in a few hours in Miami. It's going to be a good night.
Looking forward to it.
All right. It is 7:20.